Hey everyone, my name is Ben Chaish. I am a wedding and elopement photographer, and a couple years ago, I kind of had the unthinkable happen to me. I was out carrying this camera around and just kind of holding it by its lens, letting this strap kind of dangle down and, do its thing, whatever, as I walked. And as I walked, the bottom part of this strap snagged on something. It caught, flipped out of my hands, and it has a massive scratch on the front of this lens. And it's not actually one of those scratches where you can kind of buff it out real quick. Like when you feel across this, you can tell that there's like an actual scratch there that's not gonna just go away. It also kind of banged up the filter mount around this thing. And so instantly, of course, I'm just looking at this medium format film camera that I really like, the kind of upgraded lens that I have, just thinking, oh, great. Now this is completely worthless. What am I gonna do? And I had most of the roll left, and so I just decided, well, what the heck? Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? I guess I'll just shoot this thing and then see how it turns out. And the thing about that was frankly shocking to me was that I got back the photos and I could not tell what the issue was. So that was 2 years ago, and since then I've probably shot 20, 30, 40, 50 rolls through this thing. And I'm gonna go look through these scans again. We're gonna look through them together and see if we can even find where this big scratch is coming up and see if a scratch like this really is gonna show up on your images. All right, so let's jump in and see if we can figure out if it is detrimental to our images or not, if I've just been wasting my time shooting with this camera, and ultimately see what such a large scratch will do to an image. Okay, so this photo right here is the first photo that I took after I dropped my camera, realized I was an idiot, and, was super worried about it. I don't really see any issues. Maybe there's a spot in the clouds here, but I don't really see it. Moving on, here's the next one. There's a slight scan issue in the corner, but nothing there. And these are probably shot at f8 because they're landscape images and I need to get a lot of things in focus, which I would assume would mean the lens and the imperfections in it would show up a little bit more. So I made it through the rest of this roll and remember thinking, oh, well, maybe this isn't that big of a deal. So when looking through these images and, trying to look exactly where the scratch is and all that stuff, I was really trying to find an image that was super obvious. And this is the only one that I really came across that I was like, oh, okay, like that has to be it. And it's this spot right here on her arm where you can see that, it's kind of like curving. And if you look at this scratch and then you look at kind of that weird little pattern on her arm there, that has got to be it. And in something like this, that is like one click and drag in Photoshop to fix, and everything else in this image looks really great. So as I search through more of these photos that I've taken with this lens and camera combination, what we can do is, since we know that's kind of the spot where that happened, maybe we can see if we can find some other ones that had that issue in that same spot. So honestly, I'm rolling through most of these and not really seeing any issues. Even when I zoom in, there's not really much showing up. Now, what I think is gonna happen, and I'm sort of assuming this because of the photo that we found this on in the first place, is the only place I'm really gonna see this and notice this is in when there's a lot of flare and kind of backlit situations, which as a wedding photographer, I'm often shooting in that environment with that kind of stuff. So as we look through, maybe we'll be able to find some more with that. Okay, see, so in this one and this one, there's some pretty weird stuff going on in the flare. So there's nothing really too crazy, but you can definitely see that there's something a little abnormal going on. Yeah, there's this kind of weird pattern. I kind of like it, to be honest. There's kind of a lot of intrigue going on with the amount of flare and stuff like that that's happening here. But really, I haven't seen a single photo where I feel like it's detrimental enough to the image that I would need to feel like I need to run out and replace this lens with one that isn't scratched. So as we look through, there aren't really any that are super obvious. This lens is really cool. It's a really hard lens to focus. This lens is the Mamiya 81.9 on a 645 medium format film camera. So that is a pretty shallow depth of field. This camera and lens is also all manual focus. So kind of nailing that is really difficult with this camera. You definitely see it flare a lot, and it also comes down to the environments that I'm often shooting in. But the flare is something I don't really mind. And really, as I look through these, I am not really seeing anything that I feel like I would either need to fix or even replace with this lens. So I know a lot of us are obsessed with keeping our gear clean and working well and everything like that. But just know that if your gear does get scratched, if you get some scratches on the front element or anything like that, there is a good chance that your stuff is still going to be really usable and you're not going to see that much of a difference. I think the biggest thing, more so than even the lens being scratched, would just be to make sure that you get your camera and lens serviced afterwards, to make sure that all the other elements and all the other pieces and stuff like that in here didn't get knocked loose. I think that that might be one of my issues with having a hard time focusing this camera. And I don't actually think that any of the issues come down to the fact that it's scratched, but I think there just might be some slight calibration things from the fact that I dropped it, because I am often back focusing with this particular camera. So if you found this video because your lens is scratched, take heart, you might be okay. And you honestly probably will be okay as long as your autofocus and everything else is still in calibration. Go out, photograph with it, use it, see if it's something that really bothers you. And depending on how bad it is, I would venture to guess you might not really be too worried about it. So thanks so much for watching. If you found this video interesting and want to see more stuff like this, please subscribe. I have a lot more camera and photography and gear kind of stuff coming up in the future, and want to keep rolling out more and more videos like this. And the more people that like and subscribe to this channel means more and more people then will see it on top of that, which means I will have more and more videos coming as this YouTube thing hopefully grows more and more. So thanks again. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.